We're back on Global TV Talk Show. I'm in San Diego, California. The sun is shining. It feels like spring today. It's now 10:30 in the morning, and January 29. Been a fast month. Our special guest today is in Barcelona, right?
I am in Barcelona. Here it's the
Yeah,
evening. So good
yeah,
evening to your good morning.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
great, great. Across time and space. Okay, so I want you to uh, tell us about you, of course. First of all, tell me if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Mehibe Hill.
Yes, that's right. That's perfect, Ed. Yeah.
So what's the derivation of that name?
Yeah, great question. So my both my parents are Turkish from the little island Cyprus, so just off the coast of Turkey. Yeah, but I was born in London, raised there, spent most of my life there, and then I moved to Barcelona. It'll be 4 years in July.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah. So let's talk about you and your business as a coach, a life coach, and you're primarily dealing with women, not totally, but primarily.
Yeah, not totally, but primarily. There's probably a few root causes of that. So, I would describe myself as primarily a mindset coach within the leadership space. So, of course, there's elements of life that come into that. But what I am doing is supporting people to build a mindset that's going to support them in their life, primarily focusing around how they can be their true selves, their genuine selves in the workplace, in their job roles. And the reason why I primarily support women is because I'm within the global mobility space. So I do also coach expats, but mainly global mobility managers. We know that global mobility is full of, ambitious and incredible leaders who are female. So primarily I'm working with women, but I do have some male clients as well. Yeah. Working with a lot of ambitious people, I would say.
That's great because it's a good fit for our audience. Um,
Mm,
More than half of the audience for the shows in the 4.5 years that I've been doing it is female. And um, the base of our audience is the space occupied by people connected with talent, all things
hmm
talent, and from teaching to developing talent acquisition, learning and development, deployment, which is mobility, and retention, of course. Now,
hmm
within all that space, the mobility piece is the core center of our activity for a very long time. In the early days, I published print magazines having to do with recruitment, talent recruitment. And,
I remember
uh,
you telling me. Yes, I remember
and then I
this.
learned
Yeah.
about relocation industry and um, merged the two together. Okay, so um, your company is called the dash c dash coach.com,
Yeah.
the c coach.com.
The
Okay,
sea
what
coach.
does c coach mean?
Yeah. Oh gosh, great question and an evolving one. So if I'm being truly honest, the C was it used to stand for confidence because I come from a management consultancy background and worked very closely with global mobility and HR functions. And I guess within the workplace, we're all sold this idea that we have to be confident to promote change, not just within ourselves, but to take people on a journey of change. So the C used to stand for confidence, but as I have been doing a lot of research in the last year around imposter syndrome and what makes us healthy, functioning humans in the workplace. That confidence has changed to courage. So I would describe my core value and what that C stands for as courage, because I believe that small acts of courage build confidence. We know from looking at the statistics of imposter syndrome and how it's impacting people that it can't be confidence that is allowing us and driving the behavior we need to get stuff done in the workplace. So I have determined that it is courage that is truly powering us to get our jobs done and to fulfill the many roles that we need to fulfill, especially as a woman, bringing up children, being an octopus at work, within your global mobility roles, and you know, being a wife, being a friend, being a daughter, being a mum, all of these things. So it's courage that's really bringing a full and true human together.
Okay, now I'm going to go deeper with you. Okay.
Mm, yeah.
Does everybody in the world understand what the imposter syndrome is? Would you like to describe it?
Yeah, great question. And actually a really important one because we've got to this place now where when we feel a lack of confidence in ourselves, we automatically assume the imposter. And what I mean by that is true imposter syndrome is a psychological phenomena that impacts people who have been in their role for some time. It's this belief or not allowing yourself permission to recognize all of the achievements and experience that you have, as well as giving yourself the permission to acknowledge and celebrate your success. So we're talking about someone who's been in a role for a certain number of years. However, now we see imposter syndrome being kind of thrown about quite loosely. So if you start a new role or you make a transition, say from global mobility into HR, or you make a transition, myself, I was in management consultancy. I transitioned into program project management. I ended up in an immigration firm. Then I became a, client services director. Then I became a coach. When I first became a coach, I had a lack of confidence, shall we say, but I didn't have imposter syndrome because I had just started doing that. So we have mixed it up. If you have a lack of confidence because you're still building your experience, it doesn't make you an imposter. So we're talking about leaders who have been doing their role for a number of years. And from the statistics that I see, about 83% of people who have been in their roles for 3 years or more are suffering from imposter syndrome. So we've
But
got a bit of an
but
epidemic on our
that's
hands.
sort of counterintuitive, isn't it? 3 years or more means you have experience, you sort of belong. But it's the next step is where the problem is, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have become a society that needs to do more and do more and do more, and it's never enough. I hear the same language from the people that I'm speaking to, not necessarily all people that I'm coaching, but I talk to a lot of people in this space. And it's the same language around not feeling good enough, not feeling like they're doing enough, not feeling like their voice matters, not feeling like they're the expert. So, yes, as we accumulate our experience, what is happening is that we believe that the way that we have got there is purely by chance. Oh, it's really lucky that I'm in the role I'm in now. You hear that banded around as well. It's pure luck that I'm here. Actually, it's not. It's attributed to your expertise, your energy, your attitude, your experience. But it's very easy for us to look around and compare ourselves on baselines that don't really reflect our own experience, and we become very judgmental. We have a lot of self-doubt, self-questioning, and unfortunately, because we are in a digital global world, there's just so much information as well, and we're inundated with that. And I truly believe that because the world has got more complex, we are overloaded and we just can't deal with that certainty. And so we're unable to build our resilience to things. So that's also contributing to our lack of confidence because there's just so much information all the time. You know, we just weren't built, our brains are dinosaurs. They weren't built to process this amount of information in a coherent and rational way. So there's a few factors that are happening here,
Okay.
but we're all in the same boat, you know, we're all feeling it. And
So
I
let
think
me
that's
ask,
really the key
yeah.
message. Yeah.
So let's talk about your training and how you
Hmm.
develop this insight
Yeah.
and this train of thought to burst out and do what you've been doing the past week or two. I've seen on LinkedIn with these reels, TV reels of you vivaciously talking about the same issues, and
Mm,
uh, very well done, by the way. Congrats. And
thank you.
now let's talk about what I think. Okay.
Please, yes, share.
Okay, good. I have not always been this sure of myself.
Mm,
Now, at times in the past, I certainly had streaks of overconfidence and hyper aggressiveness. And most of the time it worked, but not all the time because some people got turned off and ran the other way and slammed the door and, go away. Don't bother me. I'm, I'm being entertaining, saying it in
yeah,
this
absolutely. Being
way.
facetious. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I'm with you, Ed.
Okay, so now it's different. All right. Sort of at a peak now, relatively speaking. And the imposter syndrome played a role. Um, let's just say COVID hit, and my 30 years of producing live business meetings in many different places just stopped cold. And then I said, well, I have to learn how to be a TV talk show host. All right. And so I started watching all the TV news shows, the shows in America, tons of them, of
Hmm.
course, on linear TV, not videos. I didn't, well, I did eventually go into YouTube history, and they have so much on there. My God. Uh, so I watched some old shows from when I was growing up and I was glued to the TV watching uh, Superman and I Love Lucy and news programs. I was into the
Mm.
news and cowboy movies. So about the news channels, the guys were all in a suit and tie and looking right up front like this and so serious. And then, today is a variation of that for sure, particularly on cable. And what I learned is how to produce the shows to be user friendly. In other words, don't scare away the audience, attract the audience in. Okay.
Mm. I
And
hear
so,
you. Yeah.
so
Connect to the audience, right? Connection.
yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Well, images, straight talk, uh, good behavior while on camera, and preparation. Okay. Preparation. But underneath all of that and behind the scenes, so that's in front of the camera. And here we are in front of the camera, both of us. And then behind the camera is all the staff, and you don't see them. and the people
Mm.
who build the set or design my logo or taught me how to do this kind of thing technically. So I now imagine myself, I picture myself as a Hollywood screenwriter. And I got a blank
Mm.
piece of paper in front of me. And I use a pen. You can't see it because of the screen here. Okay. And I write things down and then I type, 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 type on my keyboard. So by imagining that I'm a Hollywood screenwriter, I have the responsibility to imagine what comes next. Okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and it's all up here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to blah blah blah. Right,
Mhm.
and I write it down. And once you write it down, it's like a commitment, and it takes away nervousness. It takes away or eradicates the imposter idea because, well, it's me. It's here. I wrote it, and it's me. So
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of being that person, or I don't ever feel like I don't belong in this powerful chair that I'm in right now, looking at you. And
Yeah.
out there in the world, everyone in the world is going to watch this. So how do you communicate that? Well, I see in your writings, all about courage and imagining. Uh, you wrote the book about how to get into courage. All right, and
Mm.
that's what I read in your show notes here that
Yeah.
I've been looking
Yeah.
at in preparation for this. So media prep,
Mm.
right? That's the key. Okay, and so I help my press club members and my guests on the show media prep. In other words, I'm coaching on how
Yeah.
not to screw up or how to maximize the opportunity at hand. And you're doing the same thing, but in your own way to your own
Mm.
set of clients. So I
Yeah.
imagine, what am I supposed to do? And how do I do what I'm supposed to do best? Not just get it done, but best.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that is
that's a
such
lot of
a,
responsibility.
yeah. I mean, one thing that was resonating as you shared your experience, Ed, is that you have found a personal strategy where it works for you to step into what I would refer as your work skin, your persona. You are the Hollywood writer at your desk. You talk about having a powerful chair. You sound empowered. You sound as though you connect to that and it has an emotional connection for you. There are different personal strategies that we can adopt to address the imposter within us. And when I'm talking about imposter, I'm talking about what's going on up here. It's our thoughts, it's our beliefs, it's the unhelpful side of us. It's also called the inner critic, the sabotaging side of me, the self saboteur. So it is a voice, and sometimes it can be a persona. Sometimes it's not even our own voice. It might be somebody in our life. For me, sometimes I hear my dad, because he was quite a strict figure in my life, taught me a lot of morals and values. But sometimes we can hear somebody else talking to us. And so the journey to supporting yourself is firstly to understand what is truly happening. Because if you can accept that those thoughts are not real and be able to give yourself permission to start challenging those thoughts, those beliefs, those ideas head on and really saying, is it true? Sometimes it's just about acceptance because if we are running a million miles an hour, which a lot of people in the global mobility world are, irrespective of our roles, it's very hard to come up from the parapet and get perspective, which is what I'm doing with my clients. I am mirroring them and I'm giving them perspective on their life. And I'm challenging them into reality because the imposter lives in an imaginary world. However, what you described, Ed, is a great personal strategy where we can give ourselves permission to step into the version of ourselves that we want to be in the workplace, align them to values that resonate for us, that we want to see in our own behavior. You know, sometimes when you look at, I'm not saying you, but as in when one looks at how they're behaving, sometimes it doesn't resonate for us. You think, God, is that me? You know, and because we can have such an adverse, unhealthy relationship with ourselves, actually we can see it showing up at work. Unhealthy behaviors that are really not good for our mind, it's not good for our physical health. So there's different strategies here. But what I am doing with my clients is challenge them into truth to start getting perspectives, to start helping themselves.
Okay, so let me do another divergence here a little bit about what I'm doing this week. I'm flying to
Mm-hmm.
Washington, D.C. tomorrow, all the way across country. And on Thursday, I'm producing an in-person meeting. And pre-COVID and going back 20 years, I used to produce 3 or 4 Washington meetings a year. Okay. And at that time, I was very involved. And so I needed a home base rather than keep renting hotel rooms, ballrooms, and all that. And so I joined the National Press Club, which is a very prestigious, well-funded private club. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I held all my meetings there, and it was really first class. It's great. And I began, okay, like this was a long time ago. So I was saying, oh, what am I supposed to do here? How should I act? How should I not act? You know? And so here I am today, imagining that I'm a Hollywood screenwriter, producer, and designing a movie, all right, a play.
Mm-hmm.
And what is my lead character? Okay, like I'm stepping outside myself here. What is my lead character supposed to do next in this situation? Because
Yeah.
the imposter syndrome says, how the hell am I supposed to know? I'm not, okay, I don't know how to do that. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, learn how, and so like I had this side of my head talking, that side of my head. So,
It's a battle all the time, right? It's an
so
internal
yeah,
battle, yeah.
so I organized a meeting that is bringing together some really powerful people in Washington and virtually coming in through Zoom to
Mm-hmm.
participate. And now I'm coordinating all that. All right. So it works. And just this morning, I put the finishing touches on the sequential agenda. All right. Now I've
Congrats.
done,
Lovely.
and so I sent it around to the cast, in other words, the speakers and people. And so I'm imagining this thing as a play, as a movie. All right.
Mm.
And what is the leading character supposed to do next? Well, I'm supposed to get people comfortable. And because I'm the director, I got to, in a nice way, tell them to do things or not to do things, and
Mm.
within a time frame. And so uh, later today and tomorrow, I think the other shoe will drop when I get feedback.
I'm sure it's going to go really super well. I can tell
You're
that
very,
you're really
very nice.
prepared.
Thank you. No, I've whipped up courage enough to talk to the public out there, hello, about
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're
all of
exuding a
this
huge amount of
stuff.
courage. Yeah.
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 So, um, okay, I'm going to read something that you wrote to me. Courage supports us to build assurance levels and our confidence. How? And this is you talking. I use the equation small acts of courage equals build confidence.
Yeah.
So one step, baby steps, deduce,
Baby
find
steps. Yes.
steps, create.
Yes,
So you've got
baby.
a challenge, and then what? You break it down. This is your coaching business. So you break it
Mhm.
down into um, little steps that will cause you to breathe easier and maybe
Absolutely.
go up to the
Yes.
next step.
Yeah. Because with every small act of courage, it's shifting even only slightly our assurance or our confidence levels. Once you start what I see as practicing or flexing this courage muscle, then actually it becomes easier. Have you noticed that when you step outside your comfort zone into something that's really discomforting for you? And it does take courage to do that. We don't always have confidence when we have to face discomfort in uncertainty. It's courage that's allowing you to just do it. Sometimes we've just got to bite the bullet and do something. And so our brain loves to digest big challenges in small, digestible, incremental steps. And it also aligns to a beautiful philosophy of Kaizen. It's a Japanese philosophy that if we want to build sustainable habits or we want to achieve a big goal, our brain just cannot get there. It's too far a leap. So my motto or my power equation for change is small acts of courage build confidence.
So resilience.
And that will also help to build your resilience, absolutely, because by being courageous, we have to step into something that is uncomfortable for us and we may not necessarily have experienced it before. Hence why it's uncomfortable for us. It's within uncertainty. We're taking a risk irrespective of the outcome. That's what true courage means. We do something in this realm of risk, even if it doesn't work out. Hence why we need courage to go and have uncomfortable conversations with people that we don't get on with, or to deliver a presentation, even though we don't like public speaking, or to deliver feedback to one of our reports, or go and build a plan and go out to the business and align and build relationships with people across the business in order to ensure that our plans are functioning, whatever it might be. So it is the courage that is powering us through change.
So
And it's allowing us to progress, to learn, to grow.
let's talk about remote versus office.
Okay, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so and now the issue is from a corporate point of view, how do you get people to want to commute an hour each way, deal with all that craziness, and get into the office again and be productive and deal
Mm,
with the personalities all around, never mind the almost threat of
mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
boss
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and that relationship. And then,
If you
you
have
know,
a threatening boss, you might have a lovely boss. Who knows, right? Yeah.
hopefully, God willing,
Yeah, we hope.
but let's just say the mental health situation of people who've gone remote, that
Mm,
has given confidence to people that they can be productive at home. And they've done that without the boss. They've done it on their own.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And and now the boss is coming back and saying, if they're a bad boss or uneducated or not trained well, and from a psychological point of view, how to deal with the situation. and they're
Hmm.
threatening, if you will, to take away your success of being the new person who you are, working remotely successfully, being productive, and yet the boss doesn't have anybody to be a boss over in the old fashioned way. I mean,
Hmm.
there's huge, dramatic changes that have gone on because of COVID.
Yeah. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so, what do you say to that? How do you coach
Yeah.
people in dealing with that stressful situation?
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. COVID was a very unique time that showed us that we could, to your term, be productive without somebody watching us or without being in the office maybe 5 days a week as the norm. What COVID has done is rewritten the norms of being productive because it has challenged that belief that if you are working from home, then you are watching TV, you're ironing, you're doing your chores, you're putting a wash on, or you're taking a longer lunch. And actually, it has shown that people can do their work. The challenge with staying at home 5 days a week for organizations, no matter how small or large they are, is that the challenge is how do you create or maintain the same culture? Because if everybody is working at home, then you miss the most obvious touch points. How do you maintain trusted relationships with people? How do you maintain that human touch? How do you define your culture if it's not within, well, if some of that time isn't within the office? And I truly believe that this is a global challenge that organizations are facing now. How do we create the culture that we want to have in a hybrid? I think, some are not fully remote now, some have mandated to go full back into the office, but that's the real ultimate question. And what's happened in the meantime is that people have found that maybe their mental health has benefited from being at home because they're not as tired or they're not as stressed, or they're someone that actually doesn't want to necessarily have to deal with the uncomfortable situations, those interactions. But let's not make that a reason to be at home, because masking ourselves, masking the problem is not going to contribute to a healthy outcome. If there is an existing issue or challenge within relationships, say with your direct line manager or your boss, it doesn't matter whether you're remote or in the office, that's still going to be true for you. I mean, I've worked most of my career across global organizations, and actually sometimes being remote creates more anxiety because it can just be easier to see someone in person and have those uncomfortable conversations. So I feel that there's a distinction here between organizations trying to do the right thing with their culture and trying to get back to a norm that's shifted, and then us understanding how we can protect our own mental health. But avoidance or procrastinating around challenges at work is not going to support you either.
Fascinating conversation, isn't it? Boy,
Yeah, absolutely. Time's flying by when you're having fun, right, Ed?
I thank you for being my guest. I want you to come back on
Oh,
Global
it's been
TV.
wonderful. Like
And
we could talk, I could talk for hours with you. Thank you so much for having me.
thank you. It makes me feel good. So
Ditto. I'm
I'm
with
gonna
you. I feel
I-
great
I'm
too.
I'm gonna send you some information about our conferences. Maybe you'll join one someday.
That would be wonderful. I look forward to it. And I look forward to our meeting in face and not being remote, right? It's always a gift. I always see it as a gift now.
Nice. Okay, so I'm going to be in London live in person, producing
Yeah,
a conference on April 23.
I will try
And
and make it happen. Let's talk about it more. Yeah.
you should fly in if you can and be a speaker. And
Love to. Yeah.
my host sponsor is the bank, HSBC. and
Hmm.
it's being in their headquarters in Canary Wharf. And
Mm.
yeah, and it'll be live and virtual as well. And then 2 days later, I'm producing a similar meeting, although it'll be different, in Paris. And that one's
Oh,
just
wow.
developing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so I'm
awesome.
getting closer, but I'm not in Barcelona yet.
I'm sure one day you will be.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's great.
Yeah.
So we went up.
Wonderful.
So the last time we were there, we went to the rooftop of that famous artist who's designed,
Howdy.
yeah, up on the roof. It
Mm.
was the summertime. And
Mm. Casa
they,
Batillo, I think, maybe.
so they had a jazz
Beautiful.
band, you know,
Yeah. Yes, that's it. Yeah.
and it was one of these glorious star-filled nights. And it was summertime, so it was warm and just wonderful. Yeah,
Mm. Beautiful. I look forward to welcoming you in Barcelona,
that's
having a
nice.
cortado together in the sunshine. Ed, it was so lovely to do this with you this
Thank you.
evening. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
And
Bye-bye.
we'll speak soon.
Yes, thanks.
All right.